All right, let's talk about Murphy's Law. You know, that sinking feeling you get when your toast always lands butter side down? But what if I told you that our whole understanding of that law is, well, just wrong? What if, hidden inside that super pessimistic phrase, there's actually a powerful key to innovation? Stick around, because we are about to completely flip this thing on its head.
I mean, you've totally had those days, right? Where it just feels like the entire universe is conspiring against you. You're just trying to get through your morning, and it feels like every little thing is perfectly, almost comically engineered to trip you up. It's this universal feeling, this frustrating pattern that just seems to follow us around.
You know the moments I'm talking about. They're almost cliches because they happen to all of us. You pick the grocery store line that you think is the shortest, and suddenly it just stops. Or the one time you forget your charger, that's when your phone decides to die. It's this uncanny knack for things to go completely wrong at the absolute worst possible moment. Well, there's a name for that feeling, as you probably guessed.
And there it is, Murphy's Law. This is the version we all know and, well, maybe not love. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. It's basically the ultimate cynical outlook, right? It suggests we're all just kind of waiting around for the other shoe to drop.
But here's the thing. This idea was around long before Captain Murphy. Way back in 1877, an engineer named Alfred Holt was talking about the unforgiving nature of the sea. But the name we use today? That only really stuck in the 1940s, during these super high-stakes rocket sled tests. We're talking about a situation where one tiny mistake could have absolutely catastrophic consequences. And that's where the law got its name, and you could say its teeth.
Okay, so a spilled coffee or a slow grocery line, that's one thing. But what happens when Murphy's Law isn't about an annoyance, but a system where people's lives are on the line? Well, the stakes get much, much higher. And a moment in history showed us that in the most tragic way you can imagine.
The date was January 28, 1986. The Space Shuttle Challenger was on the launch pad. Millions of people were watching, including tons of school kids all across America, so excited to see the first teacher in space, Krista McAuliffe. The pressure to launch that day was just immense.
And this quote right here tells you everything you need to know about the atmosphere that day. You had engineers from Morton Thiokol, the company that built the solid rocket boosters, raising some really serious alarms. But their warnings were basically met with frustration and pressure from NASA management, who were just feeling the heat of a super ambitious launch schedule.
So here was the core of the conflict. The engineers had the data. They knew the unusually cold temperatures that morning would make the rubber O-rings too stiff to properly seal the rocket joints. Their recommendation was clear: postpone the launch. But management, feeling all that pressure, they overruled the engineers and gave the green light. They decided to go.
73 seconds. That's all it took. Just 73 seconds into the flight, the engineers' worst fears came true. The O-rings failed, hot gas escaped, and the shuttle disintegrated. It was a catastrophic failure that could have been prevented. Anything that can go wrong, well, it did.
Now, in the aftermath of a disaster like this, our first instinct is often to find someone to blame, right? Who made the wrong call? But this leads us to a much more important question. Is the problem the person, or is it the system they're forced to operate in?
I mean, think about it. The investigation did reveal a flawed decision-making culture at NASA for sure, but it also pointed to a much deeper issue. If your system allows a single point of failure, whether it's mechanical or human, to lead to a total catastrophe, then maybe the real flaw is in the design of the system itself.
And here's the essential takeaway. Humans are fallible. We just are. We make mistakes, especially when we're under a lot of pressure. As aerospace researcher Sharef Demirci points out here, blaming people when a system isn't designed to be error-proof, you're completely missing the point. You're not getting to the root cause, which means you'll never actually solve the problem.
And this brings us to this really powerful design philosophy called poka-yoke. It's a Japanese term that means mistake-proofing. A perfect, simple example is a USB cable. It can only be plugged in one way. The design itself prevents you from making the error. The whole goal isn't to train people to be perfect. That's impossible. It's to design systems where the easiest, most natural path is the correct one, making mistakes really difficult or even impossible. And what's so incredible is that this isn't some brand new idea. Remember Alfred Holt, the engineer from way back at the beginning of our timeline? Over 140 years ago, he recognized that you have to design machinery with human fallibility in mind. It's a lesson we are, frankly, still learning today.
Okay, so we've seen the dark, catastrophic side of Murphy's Law. And we've talked about a powerful way to design against it. But now, we're going to take a sharp turn. We're going to reinterpret the law itself, and it's going to lead us to something completely unexpected.
What if that cynical phrase we all know, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, is just the first half of a much bigger, much more profound idea? What if we've been focusing on the wrong part of the equation this whole time? So look at this. On the left, you have the classic pessimistic view. But on the right, which was popularized in the movie Interstellar, you have this radical reinterpretation. Murphy's Law doesn't mean something bad will happen. It means that whatever can happen will happen. It's not a law of failure. It's a law of possibility. Good things, bad things, absolutely incredible things, if they are possible, they will eventually occur.
So why do we automatically jump to the pessimistic version? Well, there's a reason for that, and it's called negativity bias. Our brains literally evolved to be hyper-aware of threats. Assuming the worst, that the rustle in the grass is a predator, not a rabbit, is an ancient survival strategy. So thinking anything that can go wrong will go wrong is basically our brain's ancient smoke detector. It keeps us safe by preparing us for the worst-case scenario.
And this is where it all clicks into place. That pessimistic view that helps us survive and the optimistic view that helps us thrive, they're not opposites at all. They're actually two sides of the same incredibly powerful coin.
Here's how these two ideas work together perfectly. Step 1, you start with that pessimistic negativity bias. You anticipate every possible failure, just like the Challenger engineers tried to do. Step 2, you use that knowledge to design resilient, error-proof systems. And then, step 3, once you've guarded against all those preventable catastrophes, you free yourself up to explore this vast landscape of possibility. A world where incredible achievements aren't just possible, they're basically inevitable.
So in the end, Murphy's Law isn't a curse. It's actually a challenge. It's telling us to prepare for failure so that we can clear the way for success. It reminds us that the universe is just this huge field of infinite possibilities, both good and bad. And the only question left for us is, which ones will we choose to design? What future will we work to make real?